How's it going, everyone? And well, I did it. I went out my way and purchased the all-new Model Y Juniper. And yes, this is actually a 2026 model. That's what it says on the registration as well as the VIN. But in this video, I'm going to go ahead and go in detail on all the things I learned after daily driving this thing for one entire month now, as well as going over the costs, if I would have been better off buying a Prius in terms of fuel saving. I'll also be going over the full invoice price, how much it costs to finance, and the insurance cost to drive this vehicle day to day. All that and more in this video, including accessories. And I'll be sure to include timestamps to everything in the video description down below. Let's get started. So the vehicle that this replaced was my 2024 BMW X5 50e. That car was basically a buyback. It had so many issues and stuff like that. It's like, I'm done with dealing with like mechanical issues. This is my third Tesla vehicle I own. The reason I keep going towards Tesla, it's just so much convenient buying a vehicle, comparing it against my experience with BMW. That was a brutal experience. I had to do like a $5,000 deposit, and then they did some shady things in the back. I lost my deposit. I had to do like a credit card dispute. It was just a nightmare. Eventually I found the right dealership that actually sold it to me, but the vehicle that I received was a lemon, unfortunately, which qualified for a buyback. More to the story, I'm done with imports, especially with what's going on with the world right now. I purchased a Tesla Model Y. I just need a vehicle to take me A to B. Other vehicles I was also personally considering was the Chevy Blazer, but I don't like their UI system. And even with the tax incentives, it was a little bit more expensive than this, at least from the Chevy dealer I was experiencing. So I just pulled the trigger and got this. I was also considering a Toyota Prius, the new 2025 ones. I think they're pretty cool, but number to number just didn't really make sense. The cargo space isn't as big as this Model Y, but it's going to cost about the same, and you lose a lot of performance. 0-60 on that was like 7 seconds. This is low 5s. I could even make it quicker too if I get the performance boost. So I live in Northern California, and gas on average is about $5 a gallon, sometimes depending on where you're at exactly. If you're in a national park region or a like popular area like Hollywood or something like that, gas can easily climb close to $8 a gallon. And just recently we took the Model Y during Memorial Day, one of the busiest time to commute to Los Angeles. For 3 days, I only spent $105 to drive a little over 900 miles. So have I experienced any quality control problems? It's a yes and no answer. All the corner panel gaps, so surprisingly, this is my first Model Y, or first Tesla in general, that didn't had any corner panel gaps. Like 2022 Model Y Tesla Performance had panel gaps issues around the fenders. My Model X had panel gap issues around the doors. This one surprisingly doesn't have any panel gap problems. Tesla definitely stepped up their quality control. However, an issue that I did face was my rear glass had deep scratches. Now the beauty about Tesla is if you experience any like issues within 3 days, they'll replace it with no questions asked, especially if you just recently received your vehicle. And since I did the report when the vehicle just barely had 100 miles, they were able to replace the rear glass, no problem, quickly, without giving me any issues whatsoever. Although they were trying to buff it out at first, but I was not going to accept that. And their tech looked at it, got a second opinion, and was like, yeah, we're replacing your glass. So they replaced my glass, and the process took little under a day, and they did provide me with a loaner. However, when I was replacing or adding mud flaps on this vehicle on the rear, I noticed it was missing push pins. I also reported that to Tesla. They filled them up, they realigned everything, and they fixed it. So the service center around my area, at least here in Northern California, is pretty awesome. However, your experience may vary, because I had a friend of mine pick up his Model Y and he noticed he had scratch marks on his mirror. So when it comes to picking up your car, a pro tip I have, do not launch the Tesla app, because the way it works, whenever you purchase your car and your car is ready, there's going to be a little sign on the dash with your name on it, or sometimes it even has your last name. Go locate your car. Do not launch the Tesla app whatsoever. Walk around, take photos, take videos. And then once you're satisfied with the car, if you don't see any imperfections, accept the delivery. So don't open up the app whatsoever when you first see your car, walk around it, and then be sure to accept delivery on your car. So that's a little pro tip right there. But if you do accept it, again, you got 3 days to report any issues whatsoever to Tesla, and they'll get it all resolved, no questions asked. And a cool feature that I haven't seen another car use is the ultra wideband chip that's available on our smartphones. So long as I have my phone on my person, if I hover over here, a little 5-second timer will pop up, or 3 seconds. It will automatically open up the hatch. Normally vehicles will have like a sensor or something like that. You do this with your leg, but you just simply need to stand in the back. This is not a new feature. Kias have something like this similar, but it requires you to actually have the physical key fob. This is the first vehicle I've seen that has that ability, but you could just use your smartphone, not a key fob. Now the reason why we're in the back here, because there's absolutely a lot of cargo space in the back. You see, you have about 35 cubic feet, and then up to like 75 cubic feet with the second row folded down. For reference, the BMW X5 I referenced and talked about in this video, that was our daily vehicle. It had a lot of space and stuff, especially for long commutes. And that one only had 75 cubic feet of cargo space. This actually has a little bit more space than the full-size SUV. And yeah, if I remove this, you'll see there's a lot of storage space. And you also have the underground compartment as well. I have so much storage space, I even have a shovel in the back here in case of an emergency. There's a shovel right there. It's one of those collapsible, foldable ones, but I have like a first aid kit and stuff like that in the back here. And in the storage is in there, I also have side compartments, as well as more side compartments. And then if I'm at a hotel with free charging, I have my adapter right there. I have that accessory in the description as well. And then if I did consider the 2025 Toyota Prius, that only has 50 feet of cargo space. That's with the seats folded down. So I get 20 additional cargo space with this Tesla, and these seats are indeed automatic. They even fold back up automatically too. Now in terms of improvements on the interior, this is by far the best quality I've seen Tesla being able to deliver. The plastics, they're soft plastic. They have that durability feel on them. The cabinet's extremely quiet. The sound system is absolutely amazing. I used to think that the previous generation Teslas, like the older Model Y, had a really good sound system if you get like the dual motor or the performance. This one blows it out the water. It actually has a subwoofer in the back which faces the body frame from my understanding, which allows it to sound really great and utilize the roof glass. But in terms of suspension, this is really good for a non-air ride suspension. It handles the bumps really well. I'm pretty sure some of that has to do with the 19-inch wheels I selected, which I personally recommend. Not only does it give you the maximum range, but I think looks better than the premium 20-inch wheels. Also, tires are much more cheaper to replace as well. But for a vehicle of this price, this has features I see vehicles that are over 60,000 have. Not only the seats are heated, but they are now ventilated seats. Features I've used to find on the higher trim Teslas like the Model S or the X, as well as luxury vehicles. But in the air control, it has swivel action. I recently reviewed a Lincoln Nautilus, and the Nautilus had something like this, and I love that feature, and you can find it in this vehicle now. But other luxury features I wasn't expecting to find is the ability to actually move my seats from this screen or that screen in the back for the rear passenger. You can just find it in settings, go into seats, and just like that, I can move this seat forward and back, as well as control the rear seats if I want to fold them flat. All controlled right here automatically. I can also shadow lock the seats in the back, so they have a little digital switch in the back that allows them to recline the rear seats. Again, luxury features I wasn't expecting to find in a vehicle of this price. And then of course you have the Tesla digital key, which looks like this and gives you access to basically everything in this car. If you long hold this center page right here, you have the ability to vent your windows, enable bioweapon defense mode, flash your headlights, open your front, honk the horn, activate light show, defrost, fart, remote start to allow somebody to drive your car in case it's blocking and you're not around, sentry mode, trunk, as well as unlatch door. In case the door handle is frozen or is not working, you could override it so the driver's side door could pop open. And then underneath that, you have live camera view, which allows you to view basically all angles, all the cameras in real time. A nice security feature which I haven't seen other vehicles do. The BMW we had something like this. Unfortunately, it would just take a photo. It wouldn't do a live video feed. And you could also create digital keys for friends and family if you need them to have access to your car for a certain duration. Super easy, amazing app. I know Rivian has something like that, but Tesla was one of the first with this amazing feature. But I don't want to pay that Rivian price tag. Now, I did not opt for full self-driving, which is why I got the non-launch edition. To me, that makes more sense. I'm not a person that relies on full self-driving. I personally enjoy driving myself. But during the time of the trial that I did had with this car, it was excellent. In situations where you're not familiar with the streets, a city, a new city you're in and stuff like that, don't know where the lanes are, full self-driving was able to handle everything just fine. However, there are some decisions I don't like it to make. Like one time it was actually going into the carpool lane when it was just me, I didn't have another passenger or anything like that. So I'll make odd decisions. Again, things that I'm personally not happy with, but it'll get the job done. But in situations where the road gets confusing and if they're doing construction on one site, there was a time when this car did steer and it was really close from hitting some traffic cones. I had to take control, here's a clip of that, and avoid a car from accidentally hitting a traffic cone. So again, it's not perfect, nor are everyday drivers. I've seen people literally hit like dumb stuff ridiculously just because they weren't paying attention. Me personally, I don't need it. I love driving. I'm always aware, I'm always driving with two hands on the wheel. So personal preference, not necessary. I'm perfectly fine with basic autopilot, which allows the vehicle to continue straight in a line, follow the traffic in front of you, hands-free without you having to really touch the wheel. To me, that is all I need. Pilots use it all the time, at least in cartoons, where you just hit autopilot and the plane would just fly straight. That's what I need on the road. But comparing it to hardware 3, like my previous Teslas, hardware 4 is significantly improved, especially with thanks to that front-facing camera. Tesla Vision does an excellent job in day-to-day traffic. It's a lot smarter than ever before. Now, when it comes to real-world range, honestly, this car is advertised to be able to reach 227 miles with the rim setup that we have here. I like these tires. These wheels look, again, they look absolutely amazing compared against the premium one. I like the black on black look, and I like the fact that the real rim is exposed with a combination with that cover. I think it adds like a nice touch. But I have seen YouTubers be able to achieve anywhere from like 320 to 330 under a single charge mileage range. But when I was driving back from Los Angeles, daily traffic doesn't follow the speed limits. People usually travel 10 miles over, which will easily hurt the range overall on this car. So on average, I was realistically getting close to 300 miles under a single charge. The last thing I like to be is a hazard on the freeway, being that one car going 65 while everybody is cruising at 90. So 300 is the realistic range you should expect to see out of this car. After supercharging, the average cost for a kilowatt was 44 cents per kilowatt. And there's so many supercharge networks for Teslas. I had no issues finding a charging station to charge this car whatsoever. Not once that I had to wait in line. Although there were some supercharge networks that had a line of 5 minutes, there was usually another one nearby for like another 5 miles apart. And those were the ones I was pulling into, and I was able to charge this car no problem. And it was fairly quick too. A below 10% charge all the way back up to 80% will usually take me around 20 to 25 minutes. And that was enough for me to go to the bathroom, get a quick snack, and by the time I'm done, the car only has like 2 minutes left, which is the walking time it'll take me to go from the one restaurant and back to my car. I had no complaints whatsoever when it comes to charging. So my biggest surprise after owning this car for about a month now was the amount of money that I'm saving. You see, since I do have a solar system in my house, charging this car from my daily commutes, my solar system generates about 50 kilowatts every single day, and I live in Northern California where it's usually sunny all the time. So I'm always able to charge this car up all the way up to 80%. No issues whatsoever. And surprisingly, the insurance is a lot cheaper than most SUVs. The X5 that we used to had, that one used to cost me $320 to insure. This Model Y only cost me $190 in a 2-car policy. And yes, I am using Tesla insurance. And I do have gap insurance on this as well, because I did take a loan on this car because I want to experience how it's like getting a loan from Tesla. I'll cover that more in a little bit. But with a $12,000 annual mileage, I'm only paying $190 monthly just to insure this car with high liability. But a pro tip I do have is on the Tesla safety score, don't accept the terms and conditions for it to track you, because I did that with my Model S I previously had. The months later, even with a safety score of 90 or higher, my premium actually went up. So they can only use that to track your driving habits if you accept it. So if you just leave it there without hitting accept or accepting the terms and conditions, they can't track you. So another pro tip right there. So I did get the black interior car. So pardon if it's hard for the camera to see me, but to demonstrate, here's the recliner. It doesn't really go up that far, but it still is nonetheless a nice feature to have. It still is something, and during those long road trips, it will definitely help out a lot. So how much was the invoice and how much am I paying monthly? Because I did decide to finance this vehicle. Well, I have my notes right here. So I did decide to finance it this time to test if the Tesla online calculator was accurate. And surprisingly, it was. It was just off by like $5. As long as you deselect the gas saving and then you also enable the federal tax credit if you do qualify. I did, so I took advantage of that. I recommend others take advantage of that too before it's gone. And I did select the 84-month term. I'll elaborate more why I did decide to do that. It just made more sense for me. And my monthly payment on the website was $570. But once I got my VIN number, the loan offer from Tesla, which they use TD Finance, it came out to be $570. While Tesla's website was telling me, yeah, I did say $570 earlier, $574 monthly. And the full breakdown was this. I put $10,000 down. I utilized the federal tax credit. I selected the 84-month term, and I did selected the 6.4 APR. A bit high, but to be honest, that's fair because my BMW was a little bit higher than that, and it was also a new vehicle. Used cars are typically more expensive to get a loan on. This was fair. I even called credit unions around my area, and they had a hard time beating Teslas. So my monthly payment did came up to be $570 a month. The full window invoice sticker price was destination fee, tax dates, zip code fee, fees. The full vehicle price without federal tax credit or anything like that was actually $56,057.18. Which again, that's taxes and everything, that's reasonable. This is a much better value than what most people are getting for like a Camry that I've seen. And they're pretty flexible too, because you do not need to have a 800 plus credit score to actually qualify for excellent credit. On Tesla's website, so long as you're around 700, it will be considered excellent credit. Because I was considering a Rivian not too long ago, but unfortunately through their finance, you need to have around 800 to really be treated in excellent credit. Tesla, just around 700 and you're good. Now, at the time making this video, there's a promotion going on where you could get a 1.99% APR for a 72-month term, which is an excellent deal, a way better deal. I wish I waited a week later because that's when that came out. It would have been costing me around the same, around the $570 monthly. For 72 months, that's an incredible deal, but I do plan on paying this car off in a couple of months. So the $9,000 interest rate that I will be charged at the end of my 84-month term won't affect me, as I am on track on having this vehicle paid off in just a few months. But that 1.99% would have been nice if I waited a little bit longer because I could have invested that money in somewhere else in the meantime. So would I still consider a Model Y after owning it for a whole month now? Yes. In my definition, this car to me is basically a Prius on steroids. It's much more spacious than a Prius. It has a lot more usable tech than a Prius. The Sentry mode, the 24/7-hour surveillance camera features that all Teslas have. This thing is absolutely amazing. I could stream it off my phone. Minus it does require a monthly subscription, $100 for a whole year if you pay up front. But even if you don't subscribe to that, it still will record while you're driving the vehicle. You just lose the streaming ability, as well as the ability to connect to LTE when it comes to viewing like YouTube, Hulu, as well as HBO on the center screen. So you can actually stream videos off the computer, off the car. It just requires an LTE connection. But if you don't subscribe to that, you can always just use your mobile phone hotspot. But not having to stop by a gas station allows me to get home faster and sooner to see my family than it would be with a gas car. Additionally, the instant torque can be a lifesaver. The ability to quickly accelerate, something that a Prius cannot do. 0 to 60 under 5 seconds for a car like this is still incredible, especially the amount of money I'm saving. Will also allow you to get back to your family quicker as well, so long as you drive responsibly. And then every morning when I wake up, the car is back at 80%, ready for my daily commutes, and that gets me a little over 250 miles of range. So now I would say, I wish I did waited a little bit longer, like 2 weeks later. That 1.99% APR is an incredible deal right now. Kind of bummed I missed out on it, but again, I'm on track on paying this car off in just a couple of months. So not much of a big deal for me, but it would have allowed me to hold on to that cash a little bit longer and invest it in somewhere else. So the first must-have accessory that I recommend is some type of clear bra. Now I took this to a shop and they were gonna quote me like $1,600 to just do the front bumper, or about $3,000 just to do the front portion. I bought this kit on eBay for $170 and it was super easy to install. It's not perfect, but I do plan on doing like a stealth PPF wrap later on down the line. I'll be sure to include where I got this PPF in the video description down below. They still sell it on eBay. But this includes the headlights. Well, the headlights are down here, DRLs, the mirrors, and parts of the fender as well as the hood. Another thing I recommend is a windshield PPF. This thing is absolutely amazing. I did it myself. The shop was going to charge me $400 to do. I bought it out of pocket and only paid like $170 for it. It's supposed to help with rock chips and stuff, because from my experience with Teslas is rock chips are super common, all thanks to how aerodynamic these things are. And you could see through this thing clearly. Like, it's hard to even tell there's even a windshield PPF installed. So I'll have that link in the description as well. Another accessory I have on my vehicle is this decal tail light. This is from Test Bros. It's a cool little design. I personally prefer not having badges on my car, like saying Tesla and stuff. I prefer that sleeker, low profile. I do this to all my cars. I usually remove the manufacturer brand and then just do like a sleek profile design as well. Now, I do live in the state of California, and we do have access to the HOV stickers, which allows us to carpool regardless if we have a person with us or not. And these things definitely do come in handy in California. It's $27. You just fill up a form. I'll try to include that in the description down below for you as well. But unfortunately, it's going to expire soon. Sorry about leaving trash on the door. The program, unfortunately, is going to end on September, but there's rumors that it could be expanded for next year. But again, it's like 30% possible that may end up happening. I'm just taking full advantage of this while it lasts. Other accessories I recommend can be in the car, and that is the Tesla official floor mats. I typically would never recommend the Tesla floor mats because back then they were like generic and stuff, like very cheap. But these are surprisingly high quality, because if you take a look at the driver's side, it actually matches the dead pedal with the aftermarket pedal replacements. I'll have that link in the description down below. But these are the official one from Tesla, and these are extremely premium. So premium, in fact, that this piece where it says Tesla is actually like aluminum or metal, because there's like rivets that pop out from here. So again, I'm really impressed with that quality. Another accessory I highly recommend are mud flaps, at least for your front. So I do have front mud flaps. This allows me to not have to install PPF right here to protect the rocks from hitting the side door paint right here. So those mud flaps work extremely well, because after coming back from Los Angeles, there was no marks or dirt, debris, or anything like that lodged on the rear door paint. And then the ones in the rear, optional. That's just if you want to be polite to the car in the back. Most people here are not really polite, so I drive with no mud flaps in the rear for that reason. Another thing I did was I got XPEL window tint, 20% up front and then 5% in the rears. And these look absolutely amazing. They're stupid dark in the back, perfect for privacy for the rear when driving, but you can still see pretty clearly in the back seat, in the rear as well. And then driver's side is a little bit lighter, so it's easier to see at night. And this is the high ceramic one, so this doesn't allow the interior to heat up at all. Another accessory I do highly recommend is at least one of these glass covers for your Tesla, because you can either tint it, but I think this works better than tinting it because that prevents the interior cabin from heating up like crazy. This is magnetic and it just clips on the side over here. This, in my opinion, is a must-have, or else your interior is just going to be a green glass house in here. Additionally, another accessory I have here, as you notice, I have a third-party cargo mat. This doesn't have to be a first party from Tesla. This will just get the job done. It's going to get abused. But I do have these like first-party covers that I got from Tesla, and I'll have that link in the description down below. This is the official one from Tesla. I recommend that one to get the best flush finish as well as color matching material. And then this is, once again, the Spigen one. It's magnetic, has Velcro. You can stick it on anything for that J4 or something adapter. Now, you may be asking yourself, why are my RGB lights RGBing? That is all thanks to the Sexy Commander device I installed. It connects behind this section right here, which is one of the OBD2 ports. This gives you access to a lot of unique features that Tesla doesn't give us access to. But by having that device installed to our car, you could program the passenger seat to have a memory. So like your spouse setup, you could leave it for your spouse, so when she gets in the car, it always will fix to her preference. So like memory seats, you could do that with that device. But by launching the app, here you can see what it does, let's allow it to connect. It connects via Bluetooth, and you can also hide the Bluetooth so other people can't connect to it. But I could program the door handles to open up my frunk. So you see, by default, you have to use the screen to open up the frunk. But thanks to that little mod, I could just hold the door handle like this for like a few seconds. And then the frunk will automatically open without me having to launch the app or anything like that. And now I have access to the frunk. Again, definitely, I'll leave a link in the description down below about that device, as well as more ability testing has, but this gives you a lot of amazing abilities. Another thing you may have noticed, I did recently upgrade my dash to the Alcantara material. This is a $200 option. This is all cosmetics, all personal preference, but I did went ahead and do that. This thing definitely does change the interior of the car, make it look a lot more nicer in my opinion, especially since it matches the door a lot better than this previous like texture charcoal material. And then another thing I do recommend is at least some type of mount for your phone, because during long road trips, sometimes the Tesla app isn't really the best. I could just mount my phone like this, and I could also have like Apple Maps running or Google Maps on the side of the car navigation. Super useful for like long road trips, but surprisingly I didn't end up using it when I went to Los Angeles. But it just tucks away if you don't need it. It's easy to hide, and that is just a radar detector that I need to hardwired to the car. I haven't done that yet. Now, other than that, there you guys have it. That is everything that I experienced after owning this car for 1 whole month. The experience has been positive. Haven't experienced any catastrophic failures or anything like that prevent this car from driving. It's a good daily driver. I will describe it like a Prius on steroids. I really do like this car. Very convenient for my lifestyle. Again, everybody else's lifestyle is different, but since this house already came set up with a level 2 charger, the power wall, solar panels on the roof, it just makes sense for me to own this. But this also allows me to not have to rely on gas stations to drive this vehicle. I could just literally operate this car off the grid, which is quite nice. I like that freedom, I feel. And for long road trips, very long road trips, and so much more cargo space, again, I have a full gas vehicle on standby whenever I need it. I'm always on top when it comes to maintenance on that thing. That's my setup, and that's how I utilize the vehicles that I have. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed, again, if you could leave that like button, truly appreciate those. And if you're planning on picking up a Tesla, greatly appreciate it if you could actually use my referral code in the description down below. Again, it doesn't cost you anything extra. It just saves you a little bit of money, because you will get 3 months of free full self-driving. And I believe if you end up going with full self-driving, you'll get like $400 in return or something like that. Usually there's a promotion by using that referral link that benefits both parties at no additional cost. So big thank you for using that if you can. But hold on, before we end this video, if you'd like to watch my in-depth review on all the unique features that this Tesla has to offer, I covered it in greater detail in that video over there. This was just a 1 month review. That one I go through like specs and a bunch of other awesome stuff that this car can deliver. Thank you so much for watching.